Hi there, my lovely writing friends. How are you getting on today? Today, I wanted to have a little bit of a chat about characters, and namely, how much do you need to know about your character before you start writing about them? Now, it goes without saying, well, actually, I probably should say it. Characters are the backbone of your story. No matter what genre it is you're writing, it is the characters that pull your readers into your world, and it is their journey, the character's journey, whether it be an emotional one, a physical one, a spiritual one, or whatever it is, that is what the readers want to follow. They want to empathize with your characters. They want to resonate with your characters. And getting your characters right is a vital part of writing your novel. Now, I do know that there are some people who do all the plotting and the outlining and everything else who do make elaborate backstories about their characters. And that's understandable. They want to know what that person had for dinner 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday. They want to know absolutely everything. Because I'm a pantser, I don't quite think like that. So what I'm giving you here are the basics that you need to know about your character before you start writing. Okay, as many of you know, because I've mentioned it in previous videos, I usually I usually find pictures for my characters, and that's it. I get a sense of mood from the picture. I have a rough idea on what that person looks like, and then I just go from there. So when it comes to looks, yes, it helps to know what your character looks like. But again, I would stress that when you're mentioning it in your story, think more brushstrokes and suggestions rather than outlines. With characters, I found that readers are absolutely, like, they use their own imagination when they're reading your story. And they don't necessarily want every detail hammered out. They don't want to know that the buckle on a belt is silver rather than gold or pewter. They don't need to know their inside leg measurement. They don't need to know that a particular brooch, unless it has some relevance to the story, even needs to be mentioned, except as a brooch. It's the same with hair color and eye color and things like that. Yes, sometimes those aspects can be nice to throw into your story as scattered points. But if you're in the middle of an action scene and your reader and one of your other characters sees the next character, the next main character, for the first time, you are not going to stop that action scene and write a huge paragraph about the way the light glinted off his sword, or the way he tossed back his long black hair, whatever, things like that. You don't need that. Putting your character references to the way they look just gets sprinkled in through your text. And they are brushstrokes that simply help create a picture that the reader is going to make in their mind. Now, for an example of this, when I was thinking about the script this morning, and I haven't really written a script, I've just written some notes, so I'm likely to be a bit rambly in this one. However, a long time ago, in the second book I ever wrote, which was The Runaway Cat, I had a character called Diablo. He was one of the main characters, and he was, this was written 12 years ago, so you'll have to excuse the fact that he was exceptionally beautiful. He had long blonde hair. He was blah, blah, blah. He was just perfection in a male form, okay? But I had a competition a couple of years after that book came out. And in the competition that I had for my readers, I said to them, send me pictures of Diablo. Like, send me pictures from the internet that you think best represents Diablo. And the number of different pictures that I got was absolutely astounding. Now, first thing, kudos to my readers who do, fall in with things like this and who do like to show me pictures of different people and the way they see that character. But that was a real eye-opener for me. Some of the characters had really short hair when my character distinctly had long hair. Some of them were really big and muscly, whereas Diablo really wasn't that way, and he wasn't depicted that way in the book. Some of them had curly hair. Some of them had quite squared faces, whereas Diablo didn't. All of these things. But this was the way the reader saw my character. And rather than think, oh, well, I didn't describe him very well, that's not true. Because they were all tall and they were all blonde and they were all good-looking men. But it's vitally important that you leave room when you're making descriptions about your characters in your story to give room for your reader's imagination to fill in some of the points about it. It makes it more enjoyable for them. But anyway, so that's all I'm going to say about looks. Now, it's also probably an idea to know before you start writing who they are in the world that you're creating. Now, if you watched my video a couple of weeks ago where I was really badly trying to outline my Death Fairy story, you'll see that I put down a couple of notes. I think it was something along the line, he was cute and bubbly and everything else, and, sort of the epitome of a cute little person. And actually, now I've started writing the story, he's not like that at all, but never mind. That's why I don't outline. And he does have a name now, it's Knox, but there you go. But who are they in the world that you're creating? Like, what do they fit in? How do they fit in? Are they somebody important? Are they just a person on the street? Are they somebody just trying to get by? Are they somebody who has quite an important position? Now, these things too, while they're not much, knowing that isn't so important in terms of having a character resonate with a reader, it is still important to probably drop in, because how a character fits into your world does govern the way they respond to different things that happens in your plot. And this ties in with another point that I've made here about what sort of a vibe do they have? Like, are they in a community where they're well loved and people like them and they will come to them for advice? Or do people hate them or shun them for some reason? Maybe they're misunderstood and they're just trying to get by. Perhaps they're feared. It doesn't really matter what sort of a vibe they have, like overall, but in terms of your story, it does. It matters as to whether or not, because again, how the reader sees them will depend on how they fit in their world. As I say, maybe they are misunderstood, and that is a very common way for authors to write their characters, particularly in the romance genre. But then you think about, like, I don't read them or what have you, but you think about things like, romances, the typical romances, and with college jocks and, nerdy people and all this sort of thing. You want to have a vibe. Your characters need to have a vibe. And it's really handy to know what that is before you start writing them. And that, again, is important for reader and the plot. But perhaps the most important thing that you need to know about your character before you start writing is how they're going to react or respond to any given situation, especially if it's slightly different from the norm. Now, the reason I mention this is because when I wrote The Psychic and the Vampire series, which is now a series because it now has 3 books, because the 3rd book came out in June, so very recently. But the reason why I think so many of my readers really enjoyed Ant, who's the psychic, is because of his, we'll call them quirks. He has a very black and white way of looking at the world. That's his vibe. He doesn't understand social cues and things like that. He's an extremely powerful person in his own right, although he's very small of stature. However, the way he can look at things, and especially with what he does, because he's a scene reader, is that his deadpan approach to things is a complete and direct opposite to his mate, who is a vampire and who is big and strong and powerful and has his own vibe, which is grumpy, don't give a fuck. The only person Victor cares about, in true honesty, is Ant and his dog and his sister. But basically that family unit, you know what I mean? But those two play off against each other, whereas Victor is more inclined to approach a scene that they're working on together with anger and power and, you know, this desperate need to keep protecting Ant, whereas Ant is the type of person who will stand there in front of a pointed gun and sort of say, well, I really don't think you should do that, to the person who's pointing the gun at him. Victor's the one who's tearing his hair out and going, this is like the second time I've seen a gun pointed at you all week. And Ant's like, well, I knew it wasn't going to hurt me. So, shall I go and put the coffee on? You know what I mean? There is a vibe. There is a very distinct vibe. And yet, despite neither Ant or Victor being the type of people who you could think would be, well, they're not. They're not lovey-dovey. They're not mushy. They're not anything else like that. They have found a way to work together. And the early vibes that I've been getting from that new release, which is their 3rd book, is that, please, yes, we need more cases. We need to see more of Ant and Victor. And Abel, of course, we mustn't forget the doc. But you see what I mean about having that vibe. Now, character flaws is something else that it is handy to know, but you don't necessarily need to know that when you first start to write them. You can, those sorts of things might just pop up according to whatever your plot is and how your story is progressing. You might suddenly realize, and I mean, these flaws can be anything. This can be, oh, well, I won't drink this particular type of coffee, or I always leave my dirty towels on the floor, or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but you do need something, even in your most perfect characters, those absolutely beautiful, amazing people, they still need to have something wrong with them. They still need to have something. Like, there is such a thing as having somebody who is too perfect. And if they're too perfect, and I hear this a lot in romantasy stories, if the characters are too perfect, then readers can't relate to them. They want to see them fall flat on their face in mud sometimes. They want to see them fall down sometimes. But you don't know any of that when you're starting your story. You just need to know the basic vibe of what they're going to be like when you sit down and start writing. And that's basically what you're going to do now. You're going to sit down. You're going to start writing. I made a mistake, and I will say this quite openly, a couple of weeks ago when I put out a video and I was showing that, when I was doing that outline thing, or trying to outline my Death Fairy story, because I thought that if I put down that idea on paper, then it would prompt me to start writing. And I still wanted to write it after I'd made that video. But the idea wasn't the same because I'd already put it down on the paper. And for me, who is a pantser through and through, it kind of killed it for me a bit. But that's all right, because I'm writing the story anyway, and I will recover the excitement I had for it. I purely and simply, now he has a name. Now they both have a name. So now I sort of feel like, all right, I've got two characters. Let's give them about 30,000 words and see what we can do with them. Knowing me, it'll probably be more. But anyway, what about you? What do you think? Are you somebody who likes to know your character's backstory, where they came from, who they were from birth? Do you need to know all of that before you start writing them? And if you are that type of person, how much of that information actually lends itself to the story once you start writing it? Or are you more like a pantser idea in where you're only wanting to know the details as they pertain to your plot? Is that something else that you think about? Because a lot of backstory and information that you can do in your world building phase might not be relevant unless it has ties in somehow to the present day plot you're writing about. So perhaps give that a thought too. But if you're somebody who has been struggling a bit with their writing and have absolutely no idea what to write, then find yourself a picture of a person, doesn't matter who. It's easier if it's just a person, like go on Pinterest and just type in random male, random female, whatever, and just get yourself a picture of a person that you think might be interesting. And then sit there and start writing a story about them. Commit to at least 500 words. Just see go with your instincts and just write based on that picture. Tell the story of that picture. But it has to have a person in it. And then look at who that character is when you've written it. Does it make it change the way you look at that picture then? I'd be really keen to know, okay? I'm just curious like that. But in the meantime, I put out long form content on Mondays and Thursdays. On Saturdays, I do a read along with the author. At the moment, we're reading The Most Unsuitable Prince, which is part of my Another Arranged Marriage series. I love to respond to your comments. I truly appreciate a subscribe and like. I have been losing a few subscribers lately, and I'm not sure if it's just that maybe my content is boring. Maybe it's because it's Pride Month, or, as I'm recording this, it is Pride Month, and people realize, oh my goodness, she writes those stories, or whatever it is. I don't know. And it really doesn't matter because, if there is something you want me to talk about or make a video about, then definitely let me know that in the comments below as well. But in the meantime, please keep writing, my friends. I do know you can do this. You just have to keep going. And until next time, remember that writing is supposed to be fun. Bye.